That's right. As my farmer told you, those Hedmingard and his brand new album right here, Black Current, the black medium current. It was number one, and it's incredible for me. It's an incredible album. Let me tell you, the top 25 of my show is being on air since 1990. So it's almost like the time that you start, we've been working for the same years.
Yeah, that's true. 1990. So you're actually before myself. 1 year you preceded me.
We are the same. I'm very glad, Yusuf, to have you on Radionica Public Radio. And it's a pleasure for us to have you finally here in the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, how do you want me to call you? Vicotnik, Yusuf, or how you like it?
Yeah, Yusuf is fine. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Yusuf. First of all, congratulations. The Black Medium Current album, it was number one in my top 25 and is still on the list. So we are very happy to have you here. So that way you can tell us something about it, because we haven't heard the band since the A Umbra Omega in the 2015. So we want to tell everything about this grandiose album, brother.
Yeah, it's been a long time from one album to the next. It kind of seems that that's my nature in a way, since the end of the 90s with Dødheimsgard. It usually takes around 7-8 years cycle for me to complete an album. I guess I'm not that career conscious when it comes to art. I have to step away from it sometimes and do other stuff. Then always the desire comes knocking eventually, and it's time to work. And first of all, I always need to figure out, what I did and where to go, and that can also take a long time. I don't usually when I start making music again after a longer period of time, it tends to be very resemblance to what I already wrote. So I kind of need to work myself out of that corner, and that can take a couple of years, basically getting it all done. And then you have to kind of conceptually figure out where to go and then make all that happen as well, both the visual aspects of the album and the lyrical concepts, and I guess also gather the right players to contribute for achieving the final product. And all these stages are time consuming on their own. And I think in the end, I want to release something I'm really happy with, in the sense, and I'm not speaking of perfection, because I don't think that's not a word in my vocabulary. I don't think that word makes any sense at all. But I need to kind of feel that I reached somewhat the goal I set out to do. So just releasing another album just for the sake of it would be kind of a unnecessary and not a very desirable thing to do, basically. Unnecessary.
Well, let me tell you, since Dødheimsgard started a new path since the 666 International, I like it a lot, the Supervillain, the A Umbra, but this Black Medium Current is the best, I can feel the time that you took to make it, and I don't know, man. You maybe have heard that a lot of Norwegian bands have come to Colombia because the people love black metal right here in Colombia. I don't know why, but the people love it. and this album breaks the rules. You know, you certainly be inspired to make all those sounds, all those atmospheres. I think that this is the best album of the year for myself. You know, so
Okay, thank you.
maybe you can tell us what kind of inspiration comes through you to compose this music. I mean, you hear what is going on right now in the black metal and in the whole world, because it's not only in Norwegian, you know, it's in the whole Europe, in America. It's being clear that the black metal is like in kind of on fashion. I mean, in my top 25, like 3 years from now, it's been like 6 or 7 number ones black metal bands, and that never
Okay.
happened before. Never.
Oh,
But now is something happened. Maybe you can tell us.
yeah, you know, I've been a bit away from the whole black metal thing for a few years, uh, because I've been cooked up in the studio, or in the rehearsal place, or basically on the road. Uh, so I'm not really sure how much of what is going on in black metal generally that was important for me or not. Of course, obviously, some parts of what is happening in music in general kind of seeps into your consciousness, whether you like it or not. But I think, you know, what is very apparent by Black Medium Current is the personal and immersive nature on this album. So I kind of, you know, like, I think also for it to work compositionally, adding all these kind of genres almost like seamlessly together, you kind of have to at some point just not give a shit, you know, like, okay, this is my intended goal, and now let's see how to get there. And that was kind of the I fixed on emotions, I fixed on moods. That was my kind of goal, the goals I set for this album. I wanted it to be true and honest, and I wanted it to be perceived and felt by the listener, you know, that it was true and honest. And yeah, so music as a product influenced me less than, you know, music as a goal to produce a mood that translated into a psychological state was, yeah, probably a bigger working tool for me this time around. Yeah.
You can tell that, you know, because for me it's not a black metal album. For me it's like a avant-garde, industrial, all kind of ingredients that comes to one work, you know, and it's very excellent. And besides, you are the producer, so you got the power, you got the control of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you make a demo first, and you see, you know, a pre-production, and the pre-production tells you if you're on the right trail or not, you know. But sometimes music making is really as simple as you make music and then you listen to it, and if you get the goosebumps, you're on the right track, you know. And if you don't feel anything, you know, like yourself when listening back to the music you made, or you're thinking in technical terms or whatever, just throw it out the window, you know. Then it's not worth shit.
That's right. For me, Yusuf, this is a perfect album, you know, but normally the artists don't think the same. But are you satisfied with the final results of the Black Medium Current?
Yeah, you know, I am. And I think, not, you know, there's always things to nitpick, but I think the main objective of it being like a you know, kind of a personal trip, and that the honesty and truthfulness of the album, that I kind of wanted to be available for the listener, which isn't, you know, often the case in black metal. Black metal often has kind of a distant formula, so I think that's a bit of like swapping the formula on its head, you know. And with distant formula, you know, it's always kind of fantastical lyrics and often portrayals of warriors, you know, and beating down things you don't like and stuff like that. Whereas this album kind of had more kind of the psychological notion of darkness, living within your own existence that is readily available to crumble at any given moment, and how this changes us during the course of time during our lives, and so I'm glad I got to bestow the right feeling in the album, and that it does translate to people in that notion, because I have read reviews and I have spoken to people I never spoken to before, and they give me these beautiful narratives back that really align with the concept in the first place. And obviously, never spoken to them, so they could never have known that was the intended goal. So it's kind of a universal kind of evocative language there that I hope to touch on. So in that regard, I'm very happy with the album. Like I said, there's always stuff to nitpick, but I'm glad there is, because if you have stuff to nitpick, it means that you're not content yet. You're ready for more. I think I don't believe in the word perfection. I don't know how perfection looks or would sound. I've never seen it. I don't know what to compare it to, because there's as far as I know, nothing that is perfect in this world. So it's basically just an abstract concept that doesn't make much sense if you break it down. But I think if you were to achieve perfection in one of your works, then what's the reason to making more albums?
I want to tell you something, Yusuf. I've been listening to music since I was a kid. Like you see, I have boxes of LPs. I have like 11,000 records. And
wow.
what my ears deserve is Dødheimsgard. As soon as I hear this album, it was like, wow, a paradise for my ears. And the first thing I thought was the studio. You have your own studio, and how do you process all this information?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. But
I'm asking you if you have your own studio to process all these music information.
Yeah, I have my own kind of setup. It's not like somewhere I can record drums, but like it's and I guess I can throw it in a car and get it somewhere where I can produce drums. But I mainly make pre-productions, kind of to scout out where the way to go. And for Umbra Omega, I did the whole record. I knew that I didn't want to have the sole responsibility for Black Medium Current, because I also wanted it to be different from Umbra Omega. So I rented a studio and the engineer that helped me out on the technical aspects. Picking somebody's brains that is more competent than you in those very specific layers of making sounds or recording sounds, more to speak. And like the last album, Umbra Omega, it showed maybe two things: how vastly I can expand on musical themes, but also my limitations when it comes to being engineer.
You are certainly good in both camps. I have a question, Yusuf. You're a very busy guy, because besides Dødheimsgard, you are working with Voz Noruego. I don't know if I said it right. Steered and Bad Buens End. So tell us about those bands, and if you're still working with them.
Yeah, I guess those were done. Now we are going to sit down and focus on making a new album now. So Håvard is in the process of writing music there, and I'm looking into lyrical themes and maybe an overarching kind of concept for the lyrical content on that album. But we are in the beginning stages. I actually think we will be quite far though by the end of this year, maybe halfway or something like that. So it will not take that long time coming from the start to the middle, I think, because we have a lot of ideas sitting in the back that have been waiting. So it's a matter of consolidating them, I guess, getting them together and make them work as a fluid unit. When it comes to Vedbuens, and we're kind of been trying to write an album for the last 30 years now, so hopefully we will succeed writing our second album 30 years in the making. But we're still doing shows. There's still some interest for us being booked at festivals and stuff like that. So it's always great to travel around and perform these songs you made when you were a kid, basically, So and with those guys I known for most of my life. So that's a treat. And Strid is a childhood friend of mine, or Edward is a childhood friend of mine. So I jump a bit in and out of that project depending on if he needs help or not. So when he needs help with some productional tips, or if he lacks a bassist or a guitarist for a show, then I can step in on short notice because I know that material so well. But you're right. I'm quite busy.
Totally. Yusuf, I would like to know something. Black Medium Current came out in April, just 5 months ago. How the album was received in Oslo, in your hometown, in Europe, and what kind of plans you have for the next year?
I think the critical acclaim for this album has been busting the charts. I've never experienced the outpouring of positivity towards any of my albums, at least. So I'm very happy with that. When it comes to Norway, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if I play the right style of black metal for Norway, to be honest. Of course, you talk with people, you meet people around, and what I do enjoy is that nobody's kind of coming to me or writing to me and saying, yeah, pretty nice album, man, you wrote, So it's not like an indifferent statement like that. The people that do come to me, they're like really in awe of the album. It means something to them. It's not like a party album or something cool to listen to while drinking a few beers. I always feel in their sentiments that it means more to them, which makes me happy. When it comes to concerts, we will try to play as much as possible. I won't say we have gotten a lot of bookings, but I know also that the market is on one hand a bit saturated, and on the other hand expenses have gone up and stuff like that.
That's right.
But, it's a bit weird having one of the most critically acclaimed albums in metal in 2023 and not enough shows to show for it, and that's a bit of a shame. I would like to perform this album, and hopefully in a year's time we will be able to take this whole album on the road, performing it from start to finish. That will be a very interesting project.
Wow, don't tell me. I can't wait to hear you live with this album right here in South America. It will be a dream come true. Okay, Yusuf, before I let you go, because the time goes fast on radio and you're a very busy guy, what do you want to tell to my listeners, that they're very interested in the black metal, in the black scene? There is a lot of black metal bands, and not only metal, let's call it extreme bands, Here in Colombia especially, the kids are behind that sound. What do you want to tell them? Here the situation is not like in your country or in Sweden or Germany. Here we are very poor with a lot of political problems. So maybe that's why the kids and people like me, we are hiding in all this, because we want to forget all this disaster,
Yeah, and I can relate to that, and I think I've always understood that about. I've always been interested in kind of the metal scene in the other parts of the world, you know, and I think kind of there is where in places like Colombia is where the true black metal spirit still resides, you know, because it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle to, you know, having your freedoms, your personal freedoms, and enjoying what you enjoy without people butting in or having a say in it, you know. And you know, like when you live in a country that you know you can be beat up or deemed as a bad person for listening to music or a T-shirt. I think that's a fight worth having, you know. Like and yeah, and same with countries like Iran and India and you know, like my home country. And maybe that's also one of my reasons why I always wanted to stick out a bit, you know, like being the struggling artist as well, you know. Um, in a country like Norway, where black metal is kind of um, strictly patterned after a few norms, you know. So I think that aligns good to the other countries. So you know, like I would say to Colombia and other you know, like nations that are struggling and fighting for their freedoms, pick up the Dødheimsgard album, because this is exactly what I'm doing and what I'm singing about, you know. So it's a brotherly correlation.
Giselle, thanks a lot for your time. I'm gonna keep programming your projects. Thanks a lot for giving us that good music, and please, you know, keep rocking, brother. Keep being serious in this, because for us it's our life.
Yeah, exactly. For me too, brother. Thank you so much, and same to you. 33 years now, you know, like we both have paid our dues. We're in this for life.
Keep rocking, brother, and have a good one.
Take care.